The night sky above Seoul erupted with emergency alerts as satellites detected the approaching vessels. In the Global Defense Command Center, Commander Park Ji-ho stood frozen before the massive wall of screens, his weathered face illuminated by the pulsing red warnings. Hundreds of objects, massive in size, had just crossed Mars orbit and were heading directly toward Earth. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," Lieutenant Kim Tae-ri said, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. It's not in any language we recognize." Park nodded grimly. "Run it through all translation protocols." The room fell silent as technicians worked. Outside, oblivious to what was happening, the city continued its evening routine. Lights twinkling, traffic flowing, millions of people unaware that first contact was about to change everything. "Translation complete," Kim announced after several tense minutes, putting it on the main screen. The center screen flickered, revealing a tall, gray-skinned being with hollowed eyes and an elongated skull. Its mouth barely moved as it spoke, the translated voice oddly flat and mechanical. "People of the third planet, I am High Admiral Grok of the Vortic Empire. Your world has been designated Acquisition 137 in the glorious expansion of our domain. Prepare for integration. Resistance is..." The translation paused, searching for the right word. Pointless. The message repeated once, then cut to black. Park's hand gripped the back of his chair until his knuckles whitened. "Get me the President and the Security Council. Now." Within hours, world leaders gathered virtually while military forces worldwide went to high alert. Scientists analyzed the alien fleet's trajectory and speed, estimating arrival in 4 days. Earth's most advanced weapon systems seemed primitive compared to vessels capable of crossing interstellar space. "We need to attempt communication," President Yoon insisted during the emergency session. "We can't assume hostility." "With respect, Madam President, they've already declared their intentions," Park countered. "They called us an acquisition." Despite Park's concerns, Earth transmitted peace messages in all known languages and mathematical formats. The responses grew increasingly dismissive. "Your species is classified as pre-spacefaring developmental stage 3. Negotiation protocols do not apply. Prepare for integration under Vortic authority." On the third day, as panic began spreading among the public, defense systems detected a small craft breaking from the main fleet, moving at incredible speed toward Earth. "Intercept it," Park ordered, but the object moved too quickly, evading missile locks and defensive measures. The craft crashed in a remote forest outside Busan. Special forces surrounded the smoldering wreckage, weapons raised as something pushed aside twisted metal and emerged. The alien stood slightly taller than a human, but moved with difficulty in Earth's gravity. Its gray skin was mottled with burns and what appeared to be old battle scars. Unlike the imperious admiral from the transmission, this being's posture conveyed exhaustion and urgency. "I come to warn," it managed in broken English before collapsing. 24 hours later, Park stood in a secure medical facility, watching the alien recover behind glass. Doctors had treated its injuries while linguistics experts worked to improve communication. "Its name is Dak," Dr. Moon Jae-in explained, looking up from her tablet. "A low-ranking navigator who escaped the fleet." "Can it tell us why they're here?" Park asked. Dr. Moon nodded. "That's why it came. The Vortic Empire has conquered 136 worlds before ours. They don't negotiate or coexist. They take resources, enslave populations, and move on." Park's expression darkened. "Then we fight." "There's more," Dr. Moon continued. "According to Dak, they've already studied us for decades. They know our weapons, our defenses. They expect resistance but consider it." She paused, checking her notes, an amusing formality. Later that evening, Park was granted permission to speak directly with Dak. The alien sat upright in a modified hospital bed, tubes and monitors attached to its grayish skin. "Why help us?" Park asked, after introductions. Dak's large eyes blinked slowly. Vortec destroyed my homeworld. I was taken as child, forced to serve. Its hand made a sweeping gesture. They do this, across galaxy. Must be stopped. Our weapons won't be enough, will they? Dak shook its head. Your missiles, your energy weapons, useless against shields. Park's shoulders slumped slightly before he caught himself. Then we've already lost. No. Dak leaned forward. Vortec has weakness. Their ships, connected, quantum-linked. The alien struggled with the technical terms. What affects one, affects all. What do you mean? Ship share, information, energy, defense. One system. Break one part correctly. All fail. Park considered this. How do we target this connection? Do not know how. Just know exists. Dak's breathing had become labored. Came to warn. To help. As medical staff rushed in to stabilize the alien, Park stepped outside, his mind racing. He placed a secure call to a number only 5 people in the world knew. This is Commander Park. Connect me to White Mountain Research Facility. Hours later, in a conference room carved into the heart of a mountain, Park faced a small group of scientists and military personnel, the team behind Project Echo, Earth's most classified research program. Until now, this was theoretical, Park explained. But if what our visitor says is true, we may have our only chance. Dr. Lee Hyunwoo, a physicist with unruly gray hair and tired eyes, brought up a simulation on the room's main display. Commander, what you're suggesting. We've never tested it at this scale, Dr. Lee warned. Beside him, Dr. Kang Hana nodded in agreement. The temporal displacement field is designed for small objects. We're talking about hundreds of massive ships. Can it be done? Park pressed. The scientists exchanged glances before Dr. Kang spoke. Theoretically, yes. If their ships are quantum-linked as Dak describes, we could create a cascading effect. But we'd need to precisely target their quantum frequency. And if we succeed, Dr. Lee's expression was grave. If we succeed, we don't destroy their fleet. We erase it from our timeline completely. As dawn broke over a frightened world, evacuation orders went out for coastal cities. The Vortec fleet would arrive within 24 hours. While conventional forces mobilized as a distraction, Park authorized the activation of Project Echo. In his private moments, he wondered if humanity was about to win its greatest victory, or if they were placing their hopes in an untested theory as their world faced extinction. The final transmission from High Admiral Grok arrived as his ships entered lunar orbit. Your defiance is noted. Your technology is primitive. Your species will serve the Vortec Empire, or it will cease to exist. There is no third option. Park watched the message end, then turned to his communications officer. Send our response. On the main screen, a simple message appeared in all languages Earth could translate. There's always another option. 16 years before the Vortec arrived, a young physicist named Lee Hyunwoo stood in his dimly lit laboratory, staring at results that made no sense. For the 3rd time that week, his particles had vanished during testing. Not exploded, not transformed. They had simply disappeared. I don't understand, he muttered, running his hand through his hair. Matter can't just cease to exist. His research partner, Dr. Kang Hana, reviewed the data over his shoulder, while other scientists focused on energy weapons and fast. In the present crisis, Commander Park stood in the main laboratory of White Mountain, watching as Dr. Lee and Dr. Kang prepared to share what might be humanity's only hope. Tell me again how this works, Park said. Simple terms. Lee nodded. We can create fields that move objects through time instead of destroying them. We can send the Vortec ships thousands, even millions of years into the past. Where they would do what? Park asked. Rematerialize in empty space, Kang explained, or inside a forming star, or during Earth's molten period. They would be destroyed instantly, with no trace in our present. Park paced the room. And this defector, Dak, says their fleet uses quantum linking. What does that mean for us? Everything, Lee said, eyes lighting up. Normal weapons would need to target each ship individually. But if they're quantum-linked, as Dak describes, we only need to affect one ship correctly. The temporal displacement would cascade through their entire fleet. Like knocking down the first domino, Kang added. This technology, Park said carefully. Why haven't I heard of it until now? Lee and Kang exchanged glances. It was deemed too dangerous, Lee admitted. The power to erase things from time itself. Many felt it shouldn't exist at all. But you built it anyway. We built prototypes, Kang corrected. Small-scale tests. What you're asking now, to target an entire alien fleet. We've never attempted anything close to this scale. Park's communicator buzzed. The Vortex fleet had passed Mars orbit. Time was running out. How quickly can you make this work? He asked. We'd need to modify our orbital satellites, Lee said. Reconfigure them to generate a temporal field large enough to capture their lead ships. And we need the exact quantum frequency their fleet uses, Kang added. Without it, the cascade effect won't work. Park nodded. I'll have Dak brought here. Get whatever information you need. Hours later, Dak sat weakly in a wheelchair, surrounded by equipment. The alien's condition had worsened, but its determination remained strong. Dr. Kang placed sensors on its temples, recording brainwave patterns as Dak recalled the quantum signatures used by Vortex vessels. This frequency, Dak struggled to explain, changes every cycle, but follows pattern. A predictable sequence, Lee asked excitedly. Dak nodded. Changes, but can be calculated. As Kang recorded the information, Lee turned to Park. Commander, even with this data, what we're attempting breaks every rule of physics as most scientists understand it. There's a significant chance of failure. And if we do nothing, there's a certainty of failure, Park replied. How many of your temporal displacement satellites are operational? 7. Kang said. Disguised as weather and communication platforms, we'd need to reposition them to create an overlapping field. Do it, Park ordered. How long? 12 hours to move them into position. Another 6 to calibrate the temporal fields. Park checked the latest intelligence. The Vortex fleet will be in Earth orbit in 18 hours. Then we have no margin for error, Lee said. As the scientists worked, Park left to brief world leaders. The official plan, the one shared with most military commanders, involved conventional defense strategies. Missiles, fighter jets, and ground defenses would deploy worldwide, appearing to mount a desperate last stand. Only a handful knew about Project Echo. It's a distraction, Park explained to the Joint Chiefs. We need the Vortex to think we're fighting conventionally while the real defense activates. With 4 hours remaining, Dr. Lee and Dr. Kang made final adjustments to the orbital platforms. On screens around them, technicians tracked the approaching Vortex fleet, now close enough to see individual ships, massive vessels that dwarfed anything humans had built. The temporal field generators are aligned, Kang reported. Power systems at 97% capacity. Lee studied Dak's quantum data, running final simulations. The frequency prediction model is solid. When their ships enter lunar orbit, we'll have their exact quantum signature. In the corner, Dak watched silently. The alien had refused further medical treatment, insisting its remaining strength be devoted to helping Earth's defense. Will it work? Dr. Kang asked Lee quietly. Theoretically, yes. In practice, Lee shook his head. We're about to find out. Commander Park entered the control room, his uniform crisp despite not having slept in days. Status report. We're ready, Lee said. But Commander, there's something you should know. If this works, it won't just destroy their fleet. It will erase it from history, as if it never existed at all. Park considered this. Good. That's exactly what they plan to do to us. The sun rose over a changed world. Highways leading from major cities were packed with vehicles. People carried what they could: clothes, food, precious photos. The evacuation had begun. News channels showed the same images from different countries. Families moving to underground shelters, soldiers directing traffic. The sky watched with nervous eyes. In Japan, farmers abandoned rice fields. In Brazil, the beaches of Rio stood empty. Across Europe, historic cities became ghost towns. Only essential personnel remained in urban centers as the world prepared for possible destruction. Inside the White Mountain facility, Commander Park coordinated the global response. Screens displayed evacuation progress from every continent. Military units moved into position. Defense systems activated worldwide. Moscow has completed 80% evacuation, reported Lieutenant Kim. Beijing at 75%. New York falling behind at 62%. Park nodded grimly. Keep pushing. We need everyone underground before the vortex enter Earth orbit. In another section of the facility, Dr. Li and Dr. Kang worked with a team of engineers to reprogram the orbital platforms. What had begun years ago as research satellites now needed to become Earth's most powerful weapon. Satellite Epsilon is moving into position, called out a young technician. 5 hours until alignment complete. Dr. Kang didn't look up from her calculations. We need all 7 satellites forming a precise net above the planet. If the formation is off by even a few kilometers, the temporal field won't cascade properly. The tension in the room was thick enough to touch. Everyone understood what failure meant. They worked without breaks, surviving on coffee and determination. Down the hall, medical staff monitored Dak's declining health. The alien refugee had given everything to help humanity. Even knowing the strain of Earth's gravity and atmosphere would likely kill them. Your people, Dak whispered to the attending physician. Have courage. Vortex underestimate you. Dr. Moon checked Dak's vitals with concern. You should rest. You've done enough. No rest, Dak insisted. Must help until end. At the main command center, Colonel Song Jin-woo coordinated with military forces worldwide. His job was critical, making the vortex believe Earth was mounting a conventional defense. All fighter squadrons report ready, he told Park when the commander entered. Missile systems are on standby. Naval forces are in position. Good, Park said. They need to believe we're fighting with everything we have. Aren't we? Asked Song. We are, Park replied, just not in the way they expect. Teams worked through the night. Engineers solved problems that normally would take weeks to address. Scientists made calculations and adjustments with no margin for error. And through it all, the vortex fleet grew closer. By midnight, the evacuation status reached 90% complete. Most of humanity now waited in underground shelters, ancient mines, subway systems, and purpose-built bunkers. They huddled around radios and screens, waiting for news. We need to test the temporal field, Dr. Lee announced, rubbing his tired eyes. A small-scale trial before the vortex arrive. Park considered this. Is that safe? Safer than waiting to see if it works when the fleet is here, Kang replied. We'll use minimal power, targeting a small area near the moon. Permission granted, the team prepared for the test. They selected the smallest satellite, designated Alpha, and aimed it at an empty patch of space. Charging temporal displacement field, called a technician. 5% power. On the main screen, they watched as a shimmering distortion appeared in the target area. Space itself seemed to ripple like water. Field stabilize, reported Kang. Releasing test object. A small probe launched from the satellite, heading directly for the distortion. As it entered the rippling area, the probe seemed to stretch, blur, and then vanish. Where did you send it? Park asked. 10,000 years in the past, Lee answered. To empty space where Earth will eventually be. The test confirmed their system worked, but scaling up remained the challenge. They needed enough power to generate a field large enough to capture the lead vortex ships, strong enough to displace objects thousands of times larger than their test probe. As dawn approached again, Satellite Beta reported problems. Its power system was fluctuating. threatening the entire network. "We need to fix it," Lee said, scanning the diagnostic data. "Someone has to go up there." Colonel Song stepped forward. "I'll lead the repair team." "The Vortec will be in detection range," Park warned. "They'll see you." "Good," Song replied. "They'll think we're making last-minute repairs to conventional weapons. It fits our cover story." 4 hours later, Colonel Song and 2 engineers launched in a small maintenance shuttle. Their mission: repair satellite Beta before the Vortec arrived. They worked in spacesuits, floating above Earth, racing against time. "Power coupling replaced," Song reported. "Running diagnostics now." Back at White Mountain, everyone held their breath. If Beta failed, the temporal field wouldn't form correctly. "Diagnostics complete," came Song's relieved voice. "Systems functioning at 100%. As the maintenance team returned to Earth, Dr. Kang made a discovery that changed their strategy. "Look at this," she told Lee, pointing to her screen. "DAC's information about the quantum frequency includes something we missed. The Vortex ships didn't just share a communication frequency, they shared power. Their engines were synchronized, drawing energy from the same source through quantum entanglement. This made them nearly impossible to defeat individually, but also created their greatest vulnerability. If we target their power signature," Kang explained to Park, "we won't just displace their ships. We'll sever their connection to their power source." "What does that mean?" Park asked. "It means," Lee said, eyes wide with realization, "that even if some ships escape our temporal field, they'll be stranded, powerless." With this new information, the team recalibrated their approach. The satellites were repositioned one final time, now aimed to create a temporal displacement field that would target the Vortex quantum power signature directly. In the medical wing, DAC's health took a turn for the worse. The alien's respiratory system was failing under Earth's atmosphere, but it insisted on being moved to the command center for the final confrontation. "Must see," DAC whispered. "Must witness." As the alien was wheeled in, attached to breathing apparatus, the tracking systems showed the Vortec fleet entering lunar orbit. Hundreds of massive ships, weapons ready, prepared to begin their assault on Earth. High Admiral Gruck's face appeared on screens worldwide, his final message to humanity: "Your resistance ends today. Your world is ours." Commander Park looked at the tired faces around him: scientists, soldiers, and a dying alien who had risked everything to help them. Then he gave the order everyone had been waiting for: activate Project Echo. The night sky above Earth filled with lights as the Vortec fleet moved into position. Their massive ships, each larger than the biggest human aircraft carrier, formed an attack pattern. From the ground, they appeared as new stars, too numerous to count, arranged in perfect geometric formations. Inside White Mountain, Commander Park stood at the central console. Around him, screens displayed the approaching fleet from every angle. Satellite feeds, radar data, and heat signatures all confirmed the same thing. The Vortec had arrived in overwhelming force. "First wave positioning for atmospheric entry," Lieutenant Kim reported, her voice steady despite the fear everyone felt. "Their weapons systems are powering up." Across the globe, conventional defense systems activated. Fighter jets launched from hidden airfields. Missile batteries emerged from concealed positions. Naval vessels moved into defensive formations. It was all for show, a complex deception to keep the Vortex attention while Project Echo prepared to activate. High Admiral Gruck's face appeared once more on the main screen. The alien commander looked confident, almost bored, as if conquering Earth was merely a routine task. "Your primitive defenses are noted," Gruck said, his translated voice echoing through the command center. "Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your surrender will be accepted for the next 30 minutes. After that, we begin planetary bombardment." Park didn't respond. Instead, he turned to Dr. Lee and Dr. Kang, who were making final adjustments to the temporal displacement system. "Status?" he asked quietly. "All 7 satellites are in position," Lee replied. "Power systems at maximum capacity. Quantum frequency locked, Kang added. We're tracking their power signature exactly as Dak predicted. In the corner of the room, Dak watched from his medical bed, breathing labored but eyes alert. The alien defector had survived long enough to see his information put to use. It will work, Dak whispered. Must work. Outside, the first Vortex ships began their descent toward Earth's atmosphere. Their massive hulls glowed red as they pushed through the outer layers of air. Smaller craft launched from the larger vessels, fighters, and landing craft preparing for ground assault. In cities worldwide, the few remaining military personnel watched the sky fill with alien craft. They had their orders: maintain the illusion of resistance without putting themselves at unnecessary risk. The real battle would happen elsewhere. Temporal field generators charging, announced a technician. 80% and rising. Wait until their lead ships enter the upper atmosphere, Lee instructed. We need the maximum number of vessels within our field radius when we activate. The minutes passed with excruciating slowness. On screens throughout the command center, Vortex ships continued their approach. Their weapons began firing. Test shots that demolished empty buildings and unoccupied military installations. They were toying with Earth's defenses, unaware of the true plan. 90% of their fleet now within field range, Kang reported. This is our best opportunity. Park took a deep breath. The weight of humanity's survival rested on his next words. Activate Project Echo. Dr. Lee's fingers moved across the control panel. Temporal displacement field activating now. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The satellites showed no visible change. The Vortex fleet continued its advance. Then, a subtle shimmer appeared around the 7 orbital platforms. Energy readings spiked as they generated a field invisible to conventional sensors, but precisely targeted to the Vortex quantum frequency. Field stabilized, Kang called out, beginning temporal displacement sequence. The effect started with the Vortex flagship, a vessel twice the size of the others, carrying High Admiral Gruck himself. As the temporal field engaged with its quantum signature, the massive ship seemed to distort. Its edges blurred, its structure stretched in impossible ways. Then, like a mirage fading in the desert, the flagship began to disappear. Not with an explosion, not piece by piece. The entire vessel simply vanished. For a moment, silence filled the command center. Then the readings showed what they hoped for. The quantum cascade had begun. The effect spread from ship to ship, following the quantum links Dak had described. Like dominoes falling, one vessel after another experienced the same distortion effect. Their forms stretched, blurred, and disappeared from reality. It's working, breathed Lee, his face lit by the screens showing the effect spreading through the Vortex fleet. Throughout Earth's atmosphere and beyond, the pattern repeated. Massive warships, fighter craft, troop transports, all caught in the temporal displacement field, vanished from present time. The entire Vortex armada was being erased, sent thousands of years into the past. In the command center, Park watched in awe as the invasion force disappeared ship by ship. Where exactly did we send them? He asked. To approximately 4.5 billion years ago, Lee answered, when our solar system was still forming. They'll materialize in a cloud of dust and gas that will eventually become the sun and planets. They won't survive. Park wanted to be certain. No, Kang confirmed. The conditions there would destroy any vessel instantly. They'll become part of the very Earth they came to conquer. Within 20 minutes, the sky above Earth cleared. Where hundreds of Vortex ships had loomed, there was now only empty space. Sensors showed no trace of the invasion fleet. It was as if they had never arrived at all. Displacement complete, Lee announced. All Vortex signatures gone from our timeline. The command center erupted in cautious celebration. People embraced, cried, laughed in relief. Humanity had survived what should have been an impossible threat. In the midst of celebration, Park noticed Dak's medical monitors flashing warnings. He rushed to the alien side. You've succeeded, Dak whispered, his breathing increasingly labored. "Because of you," Park said, gripping the alien's hand. "You saved us." Dak's large eyes blinked slowly. "No, your scientists saved you. I just helped." The alien's gaze moved to the screen showing Earth's now clear skies. "The Vortec will not understand. Their fleet simply gone." "Will they send another?" Park asked. "Perhaps. But now you are ready." Dak's breathing faltered. "My people would be proud to know I helped stop those who destroyed us." As medical staff rushed to stabilize him, Park returned to the main console where Dr. Lee and Dr. Kang were analyzing the aftermath data. No vortex ships escaped, Lee confirmed. The temporal displacement was 100% effective. "And the satellites?" Park asked. "6 of 7 operational," Kang replied. "Epsilon overloaded during the displacement process, but the others can be recharged." Park nodded. "Begin developing a permanent defense system based on this technology. If the Vortec return, or if other threats appear, we need to be ready." Outside White Mountain, dawn broke over a world that would never know how close it came to destruction. The sun rose on cities whose inhabitants would soon return, on fields that would continue to grow food, on oceans that remained under human stewardship. The battle for Earth had been scheduled for today. But now, it was a battle that never was. 3 months after the day Earth was supposed to end, Commander Park Ji-ho stood at his office window watching people return to normal life. The evacuation orders had been lifted. Cities were full again. Children played in parks. Farmers tended their fields. The world had been told a simplified version of events, that an alien threat had been detected and neutralized. Few knew how close humanity had come to extinction. Park's desk was covered with reports from across the galaxy. The disappearance of an entire Vortec fleet had created ripples throughout known space. The Vortec Empire, for the first time in its long history of conquest, was confused and afraid. "Sir, Dr. Kang is here to see you," his assistant announced. Dr. Kang Hannah entered, carrying a tablet filled with data. The weeks following the Vortec incident had aged her, but her eyes still held the same determination. "How is he?" Park asked as she sat down. "Stable," Kang replied. "The artificial environment is working better than we hoped. Dak may actually recover completely." This was good news. After collapsing during the battle, Dak had been placed in a medical chamber designed to mimic his homeworld's conditions. For weeks, doctors weren't sure he would survive. "And he's still helping?" Park asked. Kang nodded. "He's given us contact information for 3 other species who have resisted the Vortec. We've sent messages to all of them." The quantum communication technology recovered from Dak's ship had proven invaluable. Earth could now send messages faster than light, reaching distant worlds in days instead of years. "Any responses?" Park asked. "One," Kang said, displaying an image on her tablet. "The Lyran. They're a peaceful species who avoided Vortec conquest by hiding their civilization underground. They're cautiously interested in alliance." Park nodded thoughtfully. "And Dr. Lee's team?" "Making progress. The new defense grid will have 12 temporal displacement satellites instead of 7. Global coverage will be complete within 6 months." After successfully defending Earth, Project Echo had become Earth's primary defense initiative. Countries that once competed now shared resources and technology. The memory of near extinction was a powerful motivator for cooperation. "There's something else," Kang said, her expression growing serious. "The Vortec have sent scout ships to our solar system. Small vessels, staying at the outer edges. They're looking for their missing fleet. Have they detected our defenses?" "We don't think so. The temporal technology leaves no energy signature they would recognize." Park considered this news. The Vortec Empire spanned hundreds of worlds. They wouldn't abandon the mystery of their missing fleet easily. "Dak believes they won't risk another full-scale invasion," Kang continued. "Not until they understand what happened to the first one." "That gives us time," Park said. We need to use it wisely. Later that day, Park visited the recovery chamber where Dak was healing. The room had been adjusted to lower gravity with an atmosphere rich in sulfur compounds. Inside the transparent enclosure, Dak sat reviewing Earth's star charts. "Commander," the alien greeted, its voice stronger than Park had heard in months. "Good news arrives. The Lyran have responded positively." "Yes, Dr. Kang told me," Park said. "What can you tell me about them?" "Peaceful, advanced in medicine and agriculture. Not warriors, but survivors. They hid from Vortek for 3 centuries. And they want to meet us." Dak made a gesture that Park had learned was equivalent to a nod. "They are curious about the species that made a Vortek fleet vanish. Many thought it impossible." "Will others respond to our messages?" Park asked. "Some will. Others will fear you." Dak tilted his head, studying Park's reaction. "You did what no one has done before. Made Vortek afraid." This was both encouraging and concerning. Earth didn't want to become feared throughout the galaxy. They wanted allies, not fearful subjects. "We defended ourselves," Park said simply. "We want peaceful relations with other worlds." "Know this," Dak replied, "but others may not understand. Power to erase ships from time. Frightening power." Park couldn't argue with that assessment. Since the incident, Earth's leaders had debated how to use temporal displacement technology. Some wanted to develop it further as a weapon. Others feared it could be turned against Earth itself if misused. "We're establishing protocols," Park explained. "Rules for when and how this technology can be used. Only for defense, never aggression." Dak made a sound that might have been laughter. "Noble intentions. Hope they remain when tested." 1 week later, Park attended a meeting of the newly formed Galactic Relations Council. Representatives from every nation gathered in a secure facility to discuss humanity's first steps into a wider community of worlds. "The Lyran delegation will arrive in approximately 2 months," announced the council chair. "They're sending a small ship with 3 representatives. This will be humanity's first official contact with a non-hostile alien species." Plans were made for the historic meeting. Security protocols, translation systems, cultural briefings, all needed to be prepared before the Lyran arrived. After the meeting, Park found Dr. Lee Hyunwoo waiting in the hallway. The physicist looked tired but satisfied. "The final satellite launched successfully," Lee reported. "Earth now has complete temporal defense coverage." "Will it be enough if the Vortek return with a larger fleet?" Park asked. Lee nodded confidently. "The system is more powerful and more precise than before. We can target specific ships without affecting others if needed." "Good," Park said. "But let's hope we never need to use it again." The following month brought new developments. 2 more species responded to Earth's messages: the Tellarites, a race of traders and explorers, and the Vosh, warriors who had fought the Vortek to a standstill in a distant sector. Earth was no longer alone in the galaxy, no longer isolated. For better or worse, humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible, by making an invading fleet vanish without a trace. 6 months after the incident, Commander Park stood in a newly constructed reception facility, waiting as the first official diplomatic vessel from another world landed on Earth soil. The Lyran ship was smaller than expected, its sleek design unlike anything human engineers had created. As the ship's door opened and the alien delegates emerged, tall, slender beings with iridescent skin, Park thought about how much had changed in such a short time. 1 year ago, most humans didn't believe alien life existed. Now, Earth was forming alliances with multiple species, developing technologies previously thought impossible, and preparing defenses against threats from the stars. The lead Lyran delegate approached Park and offered a greeting in carefully practiced English. "We come in peace and friendship to meet the people who made the Vortek disappear." Park bowed respectfully. "We welcome you to Earth. We have much to learn from each other." As they walked toward the diplomatic chambers, the Lyran spoke quietly. "Many worlds watch Earth now, some with hope, others with fear. The Vortek Empire has ruled through terror for millennia. You broke that terror in a single day. We only defended ourselves, Park said. Perhaps, the Loren replied. But in doing so, you may have started something much larger than you intended. A resistance, an alliance, perhaps even freedom for conquered worlds. Park considered these words carefully. Earth had wanted to survive, not to start a galactic revolution. But perhaps that was exactly what they had done by proving the Vortek could be defeated. The battle that never was had changed everything. And the aftermath was just beginning.